What are the worst contracts in Houston sports history? Now, I do feel like you have to make a large amount of money to qualify for this. The reason why I say that is because I don't really know if the NFL's changed a lot. Ed Reed's contract was 3 years, $15 million, right? So, like, that's going to be a popular one. We're looking at this list from The Athletic that they put out in 2020. I don't know who wrote it because
it was Kelly Eco. It was
Aaron Reese and Jake Kaplan.
Correct.
When they actually had someone covering all the teams.
They had 3 Houston sports beat writers.
Yeah, that's great. You know, like I just saw a story. I saw Jeremy Brandon tweet about this. It was every beat reporter from every team broke down the team's draft selections, which made me laugh because the Texans don't have one. Super Bowl contender, and they're not represented by this company. Just curious.
Well, I mean, that I think more speaks to the Houston sports fan as a whole.
So you're blaming the fans.
It's a bandwagony town.
That's fair.
Nothing wrong with that. Most are, but this one's a rather bandwagony town.
2021 and 2022. They didn't need an athletic.
Yeah, they didn't. They really did.
They did not need it.
Yeah.
Now they probably do.
Probably, yeah. When they drafted a rookie quarterback, probably just get one just in case.
We'll see, though. Again, they have to, I think, create national interest to get those eyeballs too. I mean, to Chandler Rome's credit, before Rome moved over to The Athletic, he was at the Houston Chronicle for a good amount of time, so he'd already built up a little bit of local cachet too.
That's fair. Yeah, and there's part of it's because there's a lot of good local writers who don't have big time jobs and are deserving. Just to be honest, worst contracts in Houston sports history. Jose Abreu's got to be at the top of the list.
He's got to be close to the top. 3 years, $58.5 million, and to have played this poorly. I think the one thing that he's got in his back pocket is that last September and last year's postseason, he actually did play well. During the most important moments of the year, Jose Abreu actually was good for the Astros. I remember a long time ago when I was a Red Sox fan, the Red Sox signed J.D. Drew. Drew did not much of anything during the regular season, regularly missed games, but he had a grand slam against the Cleveland Indians, I think, in the American League Championship Series. And I think everybody agreed, worth it, entirely based off of that. Had the Astros actually advanced to the World Series, and Abreu had been one of the main reasons for that, because offensively he was one of the more consistent bats, that is his one saving grace. That's why I can't say he's the worst, but he's certainly on the board because outside of that postseason and September, it has been dreadful.
Yeah, I mean, he's signing for a 3-year contract. And he's going to play for like less than a third of it.
Yeah,
because he missed chunks of time last year. Maybe a full season in total. I don't even know if he's played 162 games for the Astros at this point.
Yeah, probably not. Probably not. Yeah. Oof.
So like that's part of it. It's like some of these contracts, like the Athletic article, like they have Ryan Anderson on here. He was a fine player. He's definitely overpaid.
$80 million. I mean, come on. Like Dylan Brooks getting $80 million in 2024. Okay. Ryan Anderson getting $80 million in 2016.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Some of these need to run through like the inflation calculator for not inflation in America, just like inflation in the sports, where it's like Kelvin Cato's deal, which I know Julian mentioned. Called
6 years for 42.
Yeah, it's like 6 years for $42 million. It's like in the NBA today. That's like, who cares?
Yeah.
Like, sure, $7 million, whatever.
That's the only move that has made it into pop culture, because ESG, my buddy, he, in a rap lyric, says, tell Kelvin Cato we want our money back. But I feel like there were so many bad Rockets moves around that time. That's almost just the cherry on top of all of the things that hadn't worked out, like trading for Charles Barkley and trading for Scottie Pippen. So then it's easy to get pissed at Kelvin Cato's contract. But again, Kelvin Cato living the American dream.
Yes.
Getting paid and not deserving it.
Also, he catches a lot of heat because, like you mentioned, the other guys were Scottie Pippen and Charles Barkley, where you're like, all right, I get it. I get what they're going for there. But yeah, no, let's not draw too many conclusions to the end of the Rockets championship years and this current Astros run. Let's not draw any more conclusions.
Okay, fine. Fine, but you do have to mention that Scottie Pippen, right after the Kelvin Cato deal or right before,
it was pretty good.
Actually, it was before Cato's deal. Scottie Pippen, before literally being traded the next year, signed a 5-year, $67.2 million deal with the Rockets, January 23rd of 1999.
All right, let's go to Julie. Jose Abreu has played 163 games for the Astros. So he's played more, just over.
Yeah.
Wait,
does that help his cause or hurt?
No,
I don't know.
It does nothing to his cause. Julian, what's your argument for Kelvin Cato being the worst contract in Houston sports history?
Well, look, man, when you make it onto a song, not only just a song, but a Houston classic, a banger, and they say your name fully, tell someone tell Kelvin Cato, we want our money back. That's how bad that contract was. And let's be real, 6 for 42 in today's, I get it. In today's NBA is nothing. But back then, that was a big contract.
I mean, it's probably thank you, Julian. It's probably like a $200 million contract now. When you think about it, 6 years, $200 million.
Yeah, in like 2001. Or it was like 2000, somewhere in there.
So it's got to be close to a $200 million deal if you think about it in today's NBA. I mean,
maybe. I listen, Joe and Matt.
Well, no, but think about it, like Patrick Ewing.
No, that would be like a $20 million contract.
But like Barkley made the most like right around that time he ever made in his career. I guess like 2 years before that at $9 million. You've got guys in the NBA making $60 million now.
That's true.
So it's at least a $20 million contract right now.
There's only one answer to this, though. I mean, there's a clear number one. It's not close.
Is it an Astro?
No.
Okay, well, then I would like to nominate Carlos Lee, but we can keep
Carlos Lee is a very good one.
I think he was $100 million.
I only saw, yes, because there's an article by Jermaine Every on SportsMap from 2017. 6 years, $100 million.
In like 2008?
2006 money.
2006. Oh.
Yeah.
Man.
6 years in Houston, Lee averaged 22 home runs, 88 RBIs, and a 286 batting average. I mean, that doesn't sound that bad in today's baseball terms.
He was decent for the first part of it. It's just that the back end was so ugly.
And he looked so big, too.
Yeah.
He looked big, slow, plodding. When you're making a lot of money and you don't look like you're in great shape, arguments that you maybe don't care about it anymore, I think, are completely fair.
All right, what are the worst contracts in Houston sports history? One nomination here from the text line when we get back. It is a current Houston Astro not named Jose Abreu. What are your thoughts? 713-780.
I'm going to share the right answer.
All right, we'll do that next year on Glenn George on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5. All right, some other nominations. Amon Green, Carlos Lee, Scottie Pippen, Tony Baselli. No, that wasn't really a contract.
Right, that was an expansion draft pick.
Lance McCullers.
Jeremy Branham thinks it's a good contract.
Still?
I don't know, but last time I talked with him about it, he said it was a good contract. And
have you talked to him since 2019?
It was a lot more recently than you'd think, that conversation that we had.
Bill O'Brien? I mean, he got fired into a new deal. 4 games into a new deal.
The extension. I was thinking, either Cully or Lovey.
Yeah, Cully or Lovey, both bad contracts.
Yeah,
but they weren't making that much money. They were
and
absolutely
no salary cap.
They were absolutely the lowest paid manager or coaches in the NFL.
Yeah.
I feel like you guys are trolling me a little bit.
Why?
I feel like everybody here is trolling me a little bit. I can't believe that the correct answer for the worst contract in Houston sports history hasn't been mentioned yet. Yeah, he didn't make it into a rap song because no one wanted to be associated with this person. There's only one person in Houston sports that in the midst of a playoff season where the team that he was on led the team as far as they've ever been in the playoffs, where I have multiple times while in NRG Stadium considered quitting sports media altogether while covering a team with a winning record. There would be long nights where I wondered about the meaning of life. I had to sit there for hours and hours. Worse, everybody in this city really took their time to realize how abso-effing-lutely terrible he was. It's been a long time since the horror of his memory has even entered my brain. Have I gone to therapy since then? Actually, yes. Not because of him, but did Brock Osweiler ever come up? Oh, you bet your bottom dollar he did. This is the worst moment, honestly, in a life where, my parents divorced, my dad had cancer, the love of my life transferred to another school. This was the worst moment of my life!
Do you feel there's been a consistent theme with the interceptions that you've thrown this year?
No, I don't. I think every interception really has a different story.
I wanted to pull out...
Dude, I'm going to be honest. I didn't know that you asked that question.
That Shogun knife, from the show Shogun, and just end it all right there.
Who'd be your second?
Who would be my second? At that moment in time, I think it would have been the producer of the Gallant at Night radio show over at the flagship, Josh Beard. I would have let Josh Beard be my second.
Okay.
I would have trusted him with that. I think he would have laughed at how angry I was. That question, I remember when I asked it, I don't know what I thought I was going to get, Joe, in terms of
But not
response.
that.
I mean, in a way, it was a perfect answer. And honestly, at this point, I do hope that Brock has moved on with his life and found meaning. But
I mean, he's on television.
That year,
he does college football games.
Oh man, it's just hearing him talk. It was so fake and it was so hollow, and you could tell he was basically figuring out how to say all of the right buzzwords, but they all felt meaningless. It was like watching a very low-level politician, and you're just wondering, wow, this guy got $72 million. And look, to Brock Osweiler, as I will to all athletes who get paid, congratulations. You got overpaid, and you lived,
He's on TV now.
No one took you out back because you basically, robbed a football team blind and required a second-round pick to be traded to another team.
After 1 year.
After 1 year, and the head coach, who had a temper, may or may not have tried to fight him in the middle of halftime. Brock Osweiler, through it all, he got paid, and he deserves credit for that, because that's the American dream, is getting overpaid when you're not good at your job.
Yeah, and what makes the Brock worse is that we mentioned Kelvin Cato and Matt Maloney text line. Maybe not Matt Maloney, but we mentioned Kelvin Cato. I think what makes it worse is that you gave them Nick Chubb. To get rid of Brock Osweiler, you had to attach 2 draft picks.
The pick that was Nick Chubb, but still.
You gave them a second-round pick.
That bums me out.
And it ended up being the 35th pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, and they selected Nick Chubb.
In a way, it worked out, for a little bit of time, because here's why. Well, when they moved on from Osweiler, they knew we're getting a quarterback in the draft.
Yeah.
Because it had been, that was the biggest frustration with the Texans. From David Carr on, there was not one quarterback that they took a big swing on. It was like Dave Ragone in the 3rd round. And I think they thought, okay, well, we're still a contending team. We don't need to trade up in the draft. And honestly, good that they didn't trade up in that draft. Deshaun Watson, for 3 years, was very, very good.
Agreed.
Was very, very good. And then in the 4th year, everyone was like, he's an MVP, even though they're 4-12. Okay. I'm a little dubious of that. I wasn't here at the time, but it did create the impetus to go and get Deshaun Watson, who they did sign to an extension, and they gave him a no-trade clause. But that trade's worked out, too. So you can't say the Watson contract didn't work out.
Without the signing of Brock Osweiler, C.J. Stroud is not the type.
Wow, that's you know what? That's been some.
So I just to Google, to try to find the trade. I found the story from 2017, and the headline is Browns trade for Brock Osweiler, freeing up the Texans to chase Tony Romo. I remember that. Wow. I remember that being the conversation.
I remember where I was. I was sitting at my dad's office in Boston. I was about to go to my best friend's wedding. I remember just sitting there with all these random guys from all over Eastern Europe, just chattering about things that had nothing to do. I'm just staring at my phone and I'm like, Osweiler's gone. Thank you. Thank you.
Like Andy Dufresne.
Yeah. Andy Dufresne.
I think
Paul Gallant. He crawled through a mile of crappy quarterback play only to come out at the other side a free man.
I can't remember the exact question, but my other favorite moment was when Beard asked him about throwing it like a pass backwards. It was like the most uncomfortable because he threw like he turned and threw the ball.
Thrumbled, yeah.
He thrumbled. I think that's what Josh called it when he asked him. He was like, "What's it like to thrumble in a game?" And
I didn't know he asked that. That's a ballsy question.
And like, I've seen the video and Brock just stares at him with this like look in his eyes, like Brock is dead on the inside, which he probably was.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, look,
Shout out to you, Brock Osweiler.
he got paid. Credit to him for getting paid. That was a Texans disaster. That was probably the worst thing that Rick Smith did with the Texans.
Yeah, it would have been. It's kind of like the Jose Abreu
Yeah.
thing, where it's too bad the Broncos didn't win that bidding war. Like it's too bad the Guardians or the Padres didn't win the Abreu bidding war. It would have saved you a lot. I mean, honestly, Yuli Gurriel is probably still your first baseman. Like they probably bring him back if they miss out on Abreu.
Or somebody else.
Yeah, just signing like a $5 million a year
like a cheap guy.
veteran for first base. 1 year, $5 million. Just stand at first base for us, please.
Right. I think it was in that Keith Law article where he basically called Jim Crane Jerry Jones. In that article, he said, like, yeah, I mean, this is the one position that you don't overspend at. It's like, sign just a bargain guy. You're not, just
Brandon Belt.
Yeah.
Shout out to Jeremy Brandon.
Or that guy that the Red Sox claimed.
Oh, Garrett Cooper.
Yeah. From the Cubs.
Yeah, they know he traded. I mean, the Astros know he traded for him like 2 years ago. And so, like, they could have easily. That would have been James Click. Well, I guess he got fired.
Different era.
Yeah, it was a different era. James Click's gone.
When they won the World Series.
Yeah.
Different era.
What a weird time. What a weird time the Astros are in still.
I wonder if Jim Crane regrets not giving him more than a 1 year offer for a contract.
No. Because they didn't get along.
Yeah, but
If anything, I think he would regret the actual signings they made.
Yeah. Because
in the interim.
But if they had given James Click a multi-year deal, those deals don't happen.
But the thing, like what Joe was saying, he was basically at bleep James Click hours.
No,
so it's
I get it. I mean,
like anybody. It's like an anybody but this guy.
I
he doesn't
remember-
regret letting go of James Click. He regrets the bad decisions that came after.
I remember Click's mindset because, like, I was once I think this was during the Astros playoffs. I was in the elevator and some baseball writer was talking with somebody, and I wasn't 100% sure who it was because they were facing in front of me. And it turns out it was like a baseball writer talking to James Click, and like Click was like rolling his eyes. He was like, "Yeah, all these fans here," and I was like, "Oh, don't say that." But now that he's gone, I feel comfortable sharing. That story.
it's one of those.
He didn't seem happy here.
No. I don't. It's like Dusty. I don't think many people were happy in that era of
in the organization.
Whether it's like the front office or
because they went
because of social media.
They went to 2 World Series.
I know, but none of them seem to like love it. Like honestly, Dusty never seemed to love it here.
I think it's probably because they felt like they didn't have control over what Dusty did, and I think ownership wanted a little bit more authority to have decision making, and Dusty.
Thank God they
old school manager pushed back on that stuff. And I mean, yeah, to his credit, it worked. Unlike all those haters out there who think he was like awful. Like, I mean, they did go to 7 games in the ALCS last year. It's not like, and they would have won the World Series if they made it.
Yeah. It's like, hey, but the batter's eye. Hey, just remember, as we end this segment, every interception has its own story.
I'll kill you.
I get what he was saying.
Everyone.
I'll kill you dead.
Just like the first one of CJ Stroud's career.
That has its own story.
They got the ball back on the same play. Every interception has its own story.
I get what he was saying. He wasn't just making one mistake, Paul. He was making many different unique mistakes every time he dropped back to pass.
Everyone has its own story. So does every bad contract.
You know what? I understand why Bill O'Brien had the temper he had after that year too. Like me and Bill O'Brien, like we should have pounded some beers over that.
It's like, hey, we're
back when we liked each other.
Same page here, Bill.